How the future is going to look like depends on what the generation right now is feeling, experiencing, learning, and aspiring. And I love to pick their brains so that I know that how our future is going to look like and if they are headed in the right direction. And I have such an interesting conversation lined up for today as well. So I welcome you warmly back to OATS Uncut, Orator Academy Talks Uncut, where we keep our conversations real, relatable, raw, organic, unfiltered, and mostly uncut. I welcome back Yuvaan. Yuvaan, welcome back to OATS Uncut.
Thank you, Vineeta.
So Yuvaan, you were having this very interesting conversation in class the other day. And that's why I invited you to come and talk here today. So why don't you introduce the subject that you were talking about, and then we'll take the conversation forward.
Yeah, for sure. So what I was discussing last class was social media, misinformation, and the public square. So a lot of people in class didn't know what the public square was. And basically in 1776, when the United States first got its independence, they had public squares where people could discuss their political opinions and their beliefs, and they could kind of argue and reason with other people. And this usually happened at bars, taverns, and other places.
Barbershops.
Yeah, barbershops. And now, the public square is basically social media. X, Instagram, any social media can be the public square now. Mm-hmm. So that has completely changed how we think of our own opinions and how we are influenced.
But my observation is that people are trying to solve world problems on social media. I feel this discussion, somebody makes a comment, very personal opinion about something, but a very polarizing opinion and thought. So then people start attacking that person and nothing good comes out of it, just a lot of anxiety and a lot of distaste and the visible disagreement and disparity in our thoughts and alignment with each other. So how is it helping, or what is happening?
Well, there can be many different ways that social media affects these opinions. And you said a polarizing opinion, right? So social media algorithms, they run on attention economy. So they want their users to be engaged on the website. They want their emotions to run high. They want activity, and they want them to stay on the website and keep scrolling. So the way that this algorithm works is it will promote polarizing opinions that people either agree with a lot or disagree with a lot. And this will push the post forward. And not only does this help social media get more users hooked to their site, but it also makes this extreme information go out more than real facts, real statistics, and real things that can be even mediocre information. So this can be bad because obviously it can push other people's opinions down. It can also be bad because it pushes misinformation and opinions that thrive on outrage from others. Mm-hmm. And altogether it can be bad because it pushes misinformation and disinformation. And I just want to touch on the difference between misinformation and disinformation, because there's a really big difference. Misinformation is when people are uneducated or uneducated about an opinion or an idea or a fact, and they mistakenly post that opinion and other people believe it. That's misinformation when it's unintentional. Mm-hmm. But disinformation is when people intentionally post facts, statistics, ideas that can be misleading and that are not actually true, just to like sway people's opinions or get more engagement on their posts.
So how do we work around this?
So there have been people who have tried to work around it, and even some companies that have pitched in to try and work around this. There are detectors where you can see what sources that these people used for their information. Like we've seen on Twitter, there's actually something called community notes, which is where instead of some AI bot checking these threads, the community will work together to review all these threads, and if there's misleading information, then they can add a little community note at the bottom, and it'll say, this information is misleading because of so-and-so.
So you can flag it or report it on other platforms as well.
Exactly. So there is reporting, there's content moderation as well, but what we've seen is that content moderation is used for the very, very, very extreme ideals. A lot of the time, political opinions won't get taken down for content moderation. Obviously, it depends on the platform. If the platform is supposed to be a safe space or a public square where people can express their opinions.
So who's monitoring whether it's misinformation or disinformation? Is the platform monitoring? Do they have things in place that they can monitor, or are people reporting?
So it depends on the platform. I think a lot of platforms do have some protocols in place, and they are to some extent supervised by humans, but I think a lot of the time it can be AIs, robots, non-human programs that are running through all this information, just because nowadays social media is so big, people post their opinions on there all the time. It's just not efficient to have a human looking over all of this.
Right, and for every election, we see more and more negative advertising against your opponent. Even right now, we went through the congressional election, and it was actually mind-boggling how much that would be disinformation, I guess. How much disinformation was being put out there in electronic media and in printed media, because I was getting those flyers at home talking against a particular candidate. So gone are the days when one campaigned to introduce oneself, and now it is about attacking the other person. So do you think in the future this can be controlled, or this is just going to keep getting worse, and the platforms will just have to become smarter and tighter in monitoring, and controlling this misinformation and disinformation?
I think to some extent this will continue going on as we see in the current state. And it is the platform's responsibility to a certain extent for moderating some of these opinions. But at the same time, it's a public square, and especially in America, we all have the freedom of speech. And freedom of speech does not equal content moderation. So if someone does flag your post, or if your post gets taken down, that's not a violation of your freedom of speech. This right, it protects it in relation to the government, not in relation to any of these private companies. But it's also the responsibility of the users, of American citizens, to be looking at this information and fact-checking it.
How did you learn so much about it? I mean, what is your exposure to social media? Because kids your age, you're not as much on social media as we may be. Or actually, no, I may be wrong, because our access to social media is, okay, certain platforms, you may have access to more. But aren't you all supposed to not be out there? Is there an age restriction for you to be on certain platforms?
Yes, there's an age restriction for me. I personally don't use much social media. I don't think I have social media.
Then how do you know so much?
I just research on my own, because when we were looking at the elections, the Mike Sherrill versus Jack Cidarelli elections, we saw all the negative campaigning ads. So I kind of dug deeper into that, and I discovered this topic. But I think, yes, there is age restrictions, but that's only because the laws have restricted these companies into putting age restrictions in their platforms. But there are still many, many kids that just bypass these age restrictions. They're set in stone, but kids can still bypass them very easily.
Because they put in wrong age.
Yes, exactly. And then we've seen now that there are more methods of getting age detection. Like there are face scans now, a lot of things that require AI, but these can also be easily bypassed. Like we have seen in Roblox age detection, because there were so many bad actors on Roblox, they had to implement age verification for the parents, because the parents were completely criticizing Roblox. And these age verifications can be easily faked. There have been videos of people who can just like print out images of celebrities and hold them up to the cameras. And it just sets their age to that age. So
the face recognition will work even if you use it on somebody's picture?
Yeah, and even that, it's completely perfect, because
scary.
So these companies have been implementing like, oh, you have to tilt your head right, tilt your head left, so you can't have a 2D image.
Right.
But at the same time, you can just give your phone to your parents, an older cousin, and they can just do the face scan for you. Nothing is perfect. Even ID verification, what's going to stop you from using your parents' ID? In this age of social media and this age of this digital age, there are so many ways that you can bypass all these limits.
So the digital advancements, is it a blessing or a curse then?
I would say it's both a blessing or a curse, because now we have information that can spread to millions of people. It can spread in the blink of an eye, it can spread in seconds, right? But this can also be bad, because this could be misinformation, disinformation that's also spreading to millions of people in the blink of an eye.
So I think it's just understanding how to work with it or around the negative aspects of it. I mean, it's very interesting. It's probably not of the same mental caliber, but somebody had once said, an older person once was saying that, oh, this refrigerator invention is not a good invention. And I said, why? We can store our food for days. And she said, that's the problem. We're not eating fresh food anymore. In the old times, you bought your groceries and you came home, you cooked, you ate, there was nothing left over because there was nothing to store it in. And now we are freezing food and eating it after months too. So I guess there's a good and a bad, and understand how to work around it. My God.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am really at a loss. I think our generation, and I just hope that since you seem to know so much about it and you're curious to learn about it, your generation has a lot on their hands in terms of these technological advancements and how to navigate your way around it.
Yeah, exactly. So we've seen the growth of AI over the past decade, really. It really blew up in the past, 3 years. So what we've been seeing is that AI is actually having these things called hallucinations, where it actually gives you statistics, facts, or information from sources, right? But then when you ask AIs, powerful AIs, like even ChatGPT, I'm sure a lot of you have witnessed this yourself. When you ask it to give you the source, sometimes it won't have a source, sometimes it'll give you the source, and sometimes it'll change the information and then give you a source.
Right.
And when it does give you that source, I've seen many times, when you click on that link, it'll say, 404, this link doesn't exist.
Yes.
It's just hallucinating all this information.
Oh my God.
And now there has to be detectors that are put in place. There are detectors from GPT-0 that you can paste your text in and it'll detect if an AI is hallucinating this information.
Ay. So which are the AI tools that are being commonly used right now?
So we've seen a growth in many AI tools over different sectors. A lot of the main AI tools, which are for the everyday human, are ChatGPT from OpenAI. There's also Gemini. There's Claude by Anthropic, which some of you may not have heard of, but it's a new AI. It's a new AI model that's growing in popularity.
I've heard of it.
And then we've also seen AI models in a lot of different other sectors.
There's Perplexity also. What is Perplexity?
Oh yeah, Perplexity is another AI model. It's built for everyday users. There's also AI models from these big companies that are branching off into different sectors, like coding, business management, data management, and many other AIs.
It's very interesting how any and every conversation seems to lead us down the same narrow channel of AI.
Exactly.
So that's how consuming, I think, this whole AI phenomenon is. Going back to your public square. Exactly. So these social media platforms that are meant to brainstorm with people who want to talk about that particular subject. Because we've seen in our town also, there are these larger platforms with 10,000, 12,000 people, and half of them stay quiet. I think not half, majority of those people stay quiet because of fear of retribution and fear of opposition. The moment you say something, people will start attacking you. And then there are people who will just write anything because freedom of speech, and expect people to just swallow it. And they probably lead to a very intense electric conversation, which again, then it compels the admin of that group to pause commenting after some time because things tend to get out of control. So, and I'm one of those quiet ones. I don't really participate in those banters and exchanges because I feel we can't solve world problems on social media platforms. So the public square that you were referring to, is that public square? That kind of public square?
Yeah, that can also be a public square. I think I definitely agree with your point. I've seen that before. And when people are behind the screens, when they're typing behind the screens, they kind of disattach themselves from real life. The things that people say online are very different compared to what they would say in real life. So I think that if you're having these conversations, it would be a lot easier and it would solve a lot of misunderstandings if you actually just have them in person. Because also the other person behind the screen...
Tone of voice too matters. Then
Exactly.
when you hear them speak, you understand what tone of voice they were using. And on that note, I also feel conversation in a bar or at a barber shop is different because it's limited in that space, as opposed to thousands of people now privy to what you just threw out.
Exactly. So the public square, the idea of the public square is being deteriorated right now. As we can see with all these people who are scared to share their opinions online because of backlash, because their opinions will be interpreted in a way they could have introduced their opinions in a respectful way, right? But other people could have seen this as attacking their own opinions, and they could receive a lot of backlash from this. And not only this, but the public square is deteriorating because of these opinions that lack real substance, real information. And these debates are happening online where there's no real interaction between the two people.
That is so true. So what is in your mind, as per you, what do you think is a way around it? What would you like to say to people when they see things like that, or when they feel so passionately about something? What is your guidance to them?
I think if you feel passionate about anything, an idea, it could be just a normal idea, it doesn't have to be a political idea. I think that the best way to go about it, if you want to really discuss it, is find people who are willing to discuss it with you. This could be in person, it would be better to do it in person, but if it is online, just make sure that what you're saying, you know for a fact that that is real, that you have sources to back all that information up, and you're relaying that information in a respectful way. Don't bash other people because of their opinions, and just put your opinions out there. And if you want to just really have a conversation that can help you get educated on matters, then I think that is the best way to do it. But you have to be safe when you do it, you have to be respectful when you do it, and you always have to be careful.
And you have to be knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable.
So do your research, know your facts for sure. Vet them out before you make statements.
Exactly.
I couldn't have said it any better than what you just did. I think that was such a beautiful closing thought that you shared. Is there anything else that you want to add to it, or?
No, I think that's basically everything I have today.
I think you closed it, you wrapped it up so beautifully. I think I can't have a better conclusion than that. So thank you. First of all, thank you for choosing to talk about this. I think a lot of grown-ups, my generation, and even older people who are struggling with this whole new social movement will understand how to navigate their way around it, and how to be that person who writes the comment, and how to be the person who's watching that comment being placed, how to react or not to react. So I think we'll all be mindful of that. Thank you for sharing your thoughts today, and thank you for your time and wisdom and research into it. Keep staying inquisitive, keep being curious, keep being this wonderful, mature young man that you are. And I think with talking to people like you, I feel very hopeful about our future and the future of the world. So may that light always shine bright.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and the wisdom that this bright young man shared with us. I thank you again for spending your time with us at OATS Uncut platform. As I always say, stay well, stay safe. Remember to love and to laugh and have a blast. We shall meet again. Take care.
Bye.